creative souls. It's Pollyanna Blanco back here in the garden in beautiful sunny Cozumel, Mexico, with another video to share with you today. In today's video, I tuned into my inspiration and listened to what the muse guided me to talk with you about today. And the topic for today is all about this birthing the creative self. And what does that mean? And why even think about that? Well, if you've been feeling a creative impulse inside of you and you've been making excuses or postponing looking at it, and you've been finding yourself feeling stuck or even possibly depressed or anxious or just in general uninspired in your day-to-day life, sort of stuck on the hamster wheel of life, then this video is for you. You know, so oftentimes we've been programmed to have our head override our heart, and it becomes an ego battle royale between the two. And as a result, we can feel cut off from our creative life force. And that's really no way to live life fully. We were put here to be regenerative species, right? And traditionally, we've been taught that, you know, having a family and bringing children into the world is the way to do that. And now, in our world, we're faced, you know, with certain, you know, harsh realities about overpopulation, about climate change, about sustainability with our current practices and structures. And as a result, whether we want to face it or not, we're all receiving the message that there is the possibility that we could end it all if we're not willing to, you know, make some changes and do some things differently. Creativity more than ever is a necessity, not a luxury. And I received amazing validation and inspiration. Just recently, I was listening to an amazing interview with Barbara Marx Hubbard, an evolutionary woman. And the interview was with Regenerative on Gaia TV. And the topic was women waking up to their purpose. And it caught my attention because of my vision and mission and desire to create this women's retreat here in Cozumel, Mexico, and this feeling this guidance to really listen to the energies on this island, to heed the guidance and the connection I feel to the goddess Ishel on this island, and to see what being here in Cozumel has been guiding me to see and to bring forth and to birth. Well, in listening to this interview with Barbara Marx Hubbard, a lot of interesting things came to light, and I want to share some of them with you today in the hopes that if you are feeling a similar creative impulse and you're not really sure what to do with it, and you may have even been experiencing some of the symptoms I described at the beginning of this video, to know that you're A, not alone, and B, that this is a call that, you know, is yours to pay attention to and see what it has to offer you. So one of the things that Barbara was talking about in her interview with Regina is this idea that, you know, while we have menopause, she likes to call it a regenopause. And this whole idea of, you know, awakening to a new phase of our life beyond the period of time where we're able to give birth to children, that she points to something intrinsic within the feminine collective, that whether we choose to have children or have a smaller family because of some of the things we're faced with in this world, or our own reasons for choosing a smaller family that are very personal to us, whether we choose to not have children altogether, or whether you know, we're not able to have children, there is still this sort of biological urge to birth. And so she talks about this sort of this desire to birth the authentic feminine self, which is the creative self. And for a lot of women that she's encountered and worked with, that and spoken to, by and large, women over 50 really hear this call quite loudly. Because even if they've had families and love their children and still love their children and are grateful for having had the experience of motherhood, there's still an even deeper urge to continue to create. And, you know, once you hit menopause, you just know on a practical level it's not going to be more children. And I'm willing to love this unknown expression into being, because just as you have a child, you know, you go through 9 months of pregnancy, and then you have the labor pains, and you don't know who this person is going to be. She uses that analogy, and yet you go through this process with unconditional love for this being inside of you. And at the same time, you know, you have to go day by day and see, you know, where it's going to lead. So it's the same thing with, you know, honoring this desire for something to birth through in the form of a creative expression as well, too. It's following, as I say, the breadcrumbs. We don't know where it's going to lead. There are no schools or classes that you can take that will tell you, follow these steps and you'll get here. You have to listen to your intuition. You have to be able to empathize with yourself and others. And you have to be willing to also find your tribe, the other people in your world who feel connected to a similar desire to express something through themselves. And she talks about something really fascinating with this too. She said that, you know, in the past, you know, our sexuality was, you know, the idea of, you know, regenerating the species and allowing more children to be here. And she said, taken to the next level of conscious awareness, it's this desire to birth that creative life force in the form of an expression that is a powerful vocational calling within ourselves. So she calls it vocational arousal. So where, you know, there's sexual arousal, this is taking it to a new level of consciousness. It's channeling that same, if you will, Kundalini energy, my words, not hers, into creativity. It's this joy, this bliss that comes from literally going through the birth process and allowing your creative self to emerge. And the reason she calls this stage of life Regenopause is because it's beyond just aging or saging or becoming a sage woman or any of those things. It's about birthing yourself anew through being in connection with this beautiful creative self energy and exploring where it wants to lead you. And she also talks about how this is helping us to really evolve not only ourselves on a personal level, but as a collective. This is how evolutionary forces are moving through us collectively to take us to the next level as a species, because we have structures that are demonstrating they no longer support our world, and that they are not able to solve the problems that are out there. So we definitely need to have access to our creativity, our imagination, our empathy, our intuition. We need to be able to lift up and above, the boxes that we've constructed that tell us this is the only way it can be. Otherwise, there's no hope because we are, in our essence, creative. And as we begin to tap into that, when we start to put our own unique expression out into the world and it starts to resonate, we're broadcasting stations through our own energy field with our chakras and everything, as our own unique soul song or energetic imprint in our creative expressions ripples out into the world and resonates with other people, then we're able to connect with those people in either business partnerships, romantic partnerships, friend partnerships, that with other people who have a similar kind of vocational arousal, and as a result, are willing to join forces as a team. And in joining forces as a team, they're as two whole, complete people coming together. They're able to be pioneers, if you will, in terms of creating newer structures, newer paradigms, doing the pioneering work of making it possible for paradigm shifts to happen in our world. Being able to bring these from the realm of just inspiration into manifestation. So it's really, when you think about it, if you are starting to heed that call, if you are feeling that that there's something inside of you that hasn't yet expressed itself in your lifetime, it is so important to honor it. I'm going to do another video where I share a little bit more about my own personal journey. I talk about it in my book, In Rhythm with Your Soul. It's been a lifetime process, and it's going to continue to be, of awakening to where my life is leading me creatively. I have been on this journey for quite some time, and my book, in the early parts talks about, this awakening process, and in the hopes that it will help you to maybe see yourself and encourage you that you're not alone. One of the things that I think is so important is, especially as women, to realize too, is to have patience with our masculine counterparts, especially of a certain generation, and she speaks to this also, and I can see this as well too, because the models for success for men, and being a man, are very, very restrictive and rigid. We're doing this new dance where the more a woman awakens to her own creative self and refuses to dampen down who she is to fit herself into a role in our society, to belong, to be okay, to receive outside approval or validation from community, family, or self, the more the male counterpart can struggle with that, potentially. Now, she talks about how men of a younger generation, because the collective consciousness is shifting, may have an easier time with that. They expect women to have a calling, to have a vision. If there are co-workers or family members or friends or romantic partners who struggle with this birthing of the creative self process in you as a woman, just know that you are not alone, and that ultimately stay the course, because hold compassion for yourself and other, and know that as you liberate yourself and break out of your own box, you're actually leading the way for them to do the same. And this is how we are evolving as a species, and it's so much larger than ourselves. And sometimes, we can shrink down our perspective and lose sight of the larger, higher good that's happening when we're faced with discomfort, pain, or disappointment. And yet, ultimately, by being true to yourself, listening to your heart, and using your head as a partner, a team player, to help you find creative solutions by being in that heart-brain coherent gamma state, brainwave state flow, you are being the change that you want to see in this world. And I cannot thank you enough for watching this video and considering all that I've shared with you today. And I want to wish you infinite creative blessings, infinite creativity and inspiration. Keep following your creative impulses. They will reveal things to you, and an experience and a richness of life to you beyond your wildest imaginings. It takes creative courage. You got to design your own roadmap, but it's well worth it. And know that you're not alone. There are other people out there. If you want to connect with me, you can reach out to me at info@pollyannablanco.com. I'll leave other information below. We've got our women's retreat happening here in Cozumel next July. Just know that it is possible to find your tribe and to vibe with them. Together we rise and shine. And this is why I do want to create this retreat, is so that we can create a hub where women can come together and begin to, through the beauty of this island and the collaborative energies of the women participating, not only in the retreat, but providing optional excursions for this upcoming retreat, you'll be able to start to begin to tune into your own creative self and allow her to begin to birth. So many blessings. Thank you.